This video is not for whales or dolphins. It's for you, because you are just like me. Average That Gamer here, and today I want to talk to you about meta, but probably not in the way that you expect. Although then again, you did see the title and the thumbnail, so maybe it is in the way that you expect. So I was responding to a comment yesterday at the time I'm recording this, and I was explaining that for a newer player, it's probably more quote right unquote to go for Caesar over burnice, as Caesar is currently the more versatile and useful agent out of the two in more scenarios. And it made me pause for a moment and think, well then, why am I not pulling Caesar? And the simple answer is gameplay. I feel that if I have to make a choice between the two, I would prefer burnice. Her gameplay is more fun, and it actually doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. But it got me thinking about the word right is probably completely the wrong word to use. Most people would tell you that Caesar is the correct pick, but if you're a newer player, come closer because I have the advice for you, and this is going to knock your socks off. But there is no such thing as the right pick. Who is right is whichever one you prefer. Now, if starting this game and thinking about it from a newer player's perspective, of course it would be daunting to jump into these conversations around all these potential characters, with some of them being limited characters that other players would have. And I would ask for advice too, but honestly, what is going to keep players interested and keep them coming back and continuing to play the game is that if they pick characters that they really like. So here it is, the advice for players new and old. You should pick a character that you really want to play. Now, in order to completely liberate you and free you up to live your gacha best life, there's a myth in the gacha space that we're going to debunk. And that myth is pull who you want. And people say that this is terrible advice, and it still can be. It really depends on the context. But I'm a firm believer of pulling who you want most of the time. And I'm going to explain why. After this quick reminder that you probably aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing is the best way to support small creators like me on YouTube. Thank you all so much for your support so far. The community around this game has been so kind and chill to me, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to tell you about two different types of players: meta players and fun players. A meta player follows the information around the game closely and takes time to consider their pulling decisions. They weigh up their team comps and their characters' pros and cons and then decide whether or not they should pull for them. Fun players see this psycho and think, you son of a bamboo, I'm in. Now, I think if you only pull who you want based on cool factor, gameplay, and their personality, then we enter the remit of possibly pulling too many characters that don't synergize very well, leaving you with a roster where you struggle to make two coherent teams. But if you start to plan on how you're going to use that character when they come out, then you can't really mess it up that bad. For burnice, for example, if you plan to use her with another anomaly agent and then some type of buffer, blam, you're good. And even if you don't have another anomaly agent right now, but burnice does appeal more than Caesar to you, you can always get another anomaly agent later as long as you have some kind of plan in place for how you're going to use them in the future. Then yeah, you should pull who you want. And this kind of comes back to that not always pulling who you want, because if you pull burnice, you're going to have to think about her moving forwards as a part of your team. And therefore, if the next character that you like doesn't synergize well with burnice, then it may be best not to pull them if you only need to build up the team around burnice. And it's probably why Caesar is more quote right unquote of the two characters here, because she makes most teams in the game better right now. Because also, let's say a relatively new player who has one other limited S rank took my or another YouTuber's advice and they pulled Caesar based on that recommendation, but they don't really enjoy her gameplay. They didn't really find it fun, but they build her anyway, and they put her in their team and they just go through the motions. Yay, so much attack buff. Yay, shield for interrupt resistance. And they fly through the endgame of Shiyu defense, and they say that the game is too easy and that they'll come back for the next Shiyu cycle, and they'll say that is easy too. Then let's say there's another player with one other limited S rank too is toying with the idea of getting Caesar, but isn't sure. And they take the advice in this video and decide that they would rather play a burnice team. Meta be damned. They start to build a team around her, but it's not perfect. And although burnice will perform well in Shiyu defense after her release, the other team that they have isn't built particularly well, and they finish Shiyu with some A's and B's, but hey, they're not really a meta player, so they don't care all that much about S ranking every node. But eventually, they think they will get there. Now, the fun player is having fun with the game, and the meta player is just going through the motions. And of those two players, both will at some point decide that they're finished with the game, and I think I know which one will drop the game first, because they are both figments of my imagination. But hopefully you understand though that the point I'm making is that people who want to have more fun are more likely to stick around because they are in fact having fun. I know that not all players fit into these two camps, and ideally most players will exist somewhere in between, and I'll touch on that again in a moment. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that it isn't fun to do your research on a new character and feel informed before deciding to pull them, and I'm not saying it isn't fun to choose the meta pick sometimes, particularly when they support your existing favorite characters and make the teams that you do have better. And I think in an ideal world, you should exist between the two, of fun and meta, which does liberate you to say both, hey, Caesar might very well be the meta pick, but I'm going to get burnice instead, and I'm going to build a team around her, or burnice might be the fun pick, but this time I want to pull Caesar to better support my existing characters. Or there might be some players who really love Caesar's gameplay, so I guess that should be considered too. And I think that's why I wanted to make this video now before Caesar's banner ends, to say, hello, Zenless Zone Zero community member. What kind of player are you? Meta or fun? Because it's okay to be both, and it's okay to pull for meta sometimes and to pull for fun sometimes, depending on how passionately you feel about the characters. Heck, if Burnice's design wasn't so darn appealing, excuse me, I might have pulled Caesar just because I could, as she has the versatility to make most teams in the game better right now. But I didn't, because I wanted to pull for fun over meta, and that's okay. But it also would have been fine if I thought Burnice's gameplay was kind of boring, and then again, I may have made the meta pick and pulled for Caesar. And an additional caveat here is that there is no way to know how good a character is going to be in the future. So although you could argue that Burnice's off-field damage potential could make her the meta pick over Caesar, we don't know enough about future characters being able to take advantage of that right now to guarantee that that is in fact the case. Additionally, I believe that you should only pull for a character for what they are able to do for your teams right now, as opposed to some mythical future that may never happen. And again, this isn't to say that you shouldn't plan ahead and look at the information around upcoming characters. You absolutely should. And in relation to the totally new player question that sparked this video, if you are starting from a fresh account, then you're kind of in the best possible position to go with whatever you want, because you don't really have existing teams to slot characters into, and therefore you can start the building process in whatever direction appeals to you. Do you want to build into anomaly stuff? Would you rather run a team with a traditional crit-based attack character? It's your call, but my advice would be to do what you think is going to be the most enjoyable for you. Don't min-max away the fun. It's a game, it's meant to be fun, so play it for fun. So go forth, get your dudes, and feel liberated to do what you want, within reason. If you pull a character because you think they're fun, and then either have a basic team for them, which you can build on, or a plan to build around them moving forwards. Remember that these games are marathons and not sprints, so take your time and build up some teams that you enjoy playing. You don't have to S-rank everything. It kinda doesn't matter. If you A-ranked the last 2 stages on Shiyu defense, for example, instead of S-rank, you're missing out on 80 polychromes total. That's 40 for each one. It's really not that much. So if your team isn't quite crushing it yet, then continue to build around them, which might include pulling characters to support your favorite fun characters or drive disc farming, etc. Now, I know the 2 types of players I laid out earlier. I did so to illustrate my point, but I've been both of those players in different games before, and it would suck if a player dropped Zenless Zone Zero, which I'm really enjoying in case you haven't guessed, because they pulled the quote right unquote character for them and they just weren't having fun with that character. So anyway, a bit of a rant, I guess. And to be clear, I'm not upset that someone asked for help. I just feel like I had so much more to say than I could put in a comment, and I felt that if other players felt similarly, then it'd be worth making the video. If you're interested, another video of mine should pop up now. I'm off now to look at Burnice art on my Discord for research. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe for better than average luck on your pulls, and join the Discord. Pull responsibly, stay weird, all the normal stuff. Also, I'll be pulling Burnice live on stream on Thursday. There'll be an event on Discord with times, etc. Join Twitch. Take care. Bye.